Without further ado, Raj Amit Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I think I just should mention a little bit about what the film is about, because I don't think I'm going to talk about the film at all after my minute intro, because I just want to talk about censorship, because Don mentioned that it's important to discuss ban and censorship of this film and my experience with it. So I guess that's what I'm going to discuss today. So the film is Unfreedom. It has two parallel stories in it. One deals with Islamic terrorism. There's a fundamentalist Muslim who arrives in New York and kidnaps a liberal Muslim scholar. What happens between them is a journey that takes place in New York. And in the second story, there's a lesbian in India. She runs away with her bisexual lover. What happens between them is a journey in New Delhi. So these are two parallel stories that run in the film, and we see mirror images, parallel events on both sides, kind of speaking to each other. And probably I'm trying to understand something else beyond either one of those stories. So having said that, like I said, Don mentioned we should talk about censorship. I want this space to be an uncensored space. So anybody who has a problem with words like shit, piss, fuck, fucking, fucked, cocksucker, motherfucker, screw, dickhead should already leave the space. Because my distributors kind of taught me, at the time when the film was ready to be released, it's like, at least you should learn to give people trigger warning. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't care about that while I was making the film, so I guess that's okay. So nobody left? Brian left? What the hell? Don, he needs to be out of the team, he doesn't deserve to be part of the film festival. That's my take on it, but okay. So I will start with, I guess, to understand how censorship in India functions, and it functions differently than US, of course. Here you have a rating system, PG-13, PG-15, and NC-17, and R, and whatnot, right? India, we have a rating system too, but there is a thing called censor board. And, Britishers screwed India for about 200 years. And so when we were getting our independence, 1947, we still never left the slave mentality, right? So we said, let's copy-paste this constitution, let's copy-paste all the laws that existed there in the British Raj. And so homosexuality was illegal. England changed that over a period of time, but we never found time to do that. The censor board was set up with the same Victorian morality. There are certain guidelines that was given to censor board that if any filmmakers crosses these lines, you better chop off their content. So I'll just read some of these guidelines, which they were given to me when the judgment was passed on my film. So the letter came to me, it was like, scenes showing involvement of children in violence and child abuse shouldn't be there. Pointless or avoidable scenes of violence, cruelty, horror shouldn't be there. Violence that is intended to provide entertainment shouldn't be there. Scenes encouraging, justifying, glamorizing tobacco, smoking shouldn't be there. So that you go to Indian cinema these days in theater, somebody's smoking and you will have a smoking is injurious to health as a caption while the film is playing. Scenes involving sexual violence against women, like attempt to rape, any form of molestation, shouldn't be there. And if they are, they should be reduced to minimum, with no details should be shown. Scenes showing sexual perversions shall be avoided. Visuals or words contemptuous to any race, religion shouldn't be there. Visual or words that are anti-national shouldn't be there. So, this came to me and I'm reading it and I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the fuck? Would I ever be able to make any single film ever? because I mean that's what I want to do. I want to make film about these subjects. So if I had read all this, like when I was 15, I would have probably joined a mafia and not decided to make films. So in the process of writing this script, this question kept on coming over and over again, right? The question was, don't you know that this will be banned? I mean, are you not aware, I'm like, no. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. And why should I know? I mean, I really don't know. So it was a question of, should I ban myself right now? Should I already censor myself while this is the content I want to make and this is a certain way I want to make this content? Should I already do that? So I didn't. 4 years down the road, we finished the film. That journey was over. And I guess it was time to face censor board. The film was accepted at IFFK, which is International Film Festival of Kerala, one of the very sort of critically reputed film festival in India. At the same time, censor board was going to see the film. So it's like, you have to make adjustments to your life, your plan, everything according to the censor board. And this is plight of every Indian filmmaker, right? You are a criminal as a filmmaker because you have made a film, you have committed a crime. You have to first go in front of a jury to really explain your content. So I was already kind of, loopy about this whole process. I reached there and it was kind of enjoyable experience actually. So, I mean, there are stages when it comes to censorship in India. There is a committee, reviewing committee sees it. If they say okay, then it's fine. Then the revising committee sees it. Then the FCAT is a tribunal where you can appeal for it. So I was first with the reviewing committee. So I see about 5-6, people there, and I'm kind of already looking at them. I'm feeling like, what the hell, are you guys going to judge my film, you jokers? I mean, they really look like jokers, and they proved to be jokers as the screening started. One of them went out to take a leak while the film was going on. Then another one came out. His wife came in. They were having some kind of argument about something, I don't know what. So they kind of had even lunch outside while the film was playing. So I'm like, this is interesting. This is great. This is how films are censored in India, and this is the people who decide this film. And he's going to go inside and pass some kind of judgment and some kind of comment. But anyways, so I go inside. So the first one was like, why did you make this film? And I'm looking and I'm asking myself the question, does this question even belong here? The second was, like Don just mentioned, what is the message in this film? And by the time I had it, I'm like, so I was asking, okay, I'm a criminal. Should I defend myself or should I attack these guys? So I was like, I don't know what is the message in my film. And pretty much that remained my answer for the rest of the conversation. They had a question about, there is a Muslim prayer happening in the film when these terrorists are receiving machine guns. Why is that? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. So there was a lady there, she's like, there is no love in your film. All these girls, they're just bad. Have you learned how to create characters? And I'm like, I'm going to get some, filmmaking lessons also here. I'm like, no, I don't know. I have no idea. So then she's like, why do you make film on homos? We don't have that many homos in our country. So the next one was most funny. So he was like, you're showing our cop community in a bad light. You're showing the fathers in this country in a bad light. You're showing this nation in a bad light. Actually, everything about your film is bad lighting. And so this cannot be certified. I'm like, okay. So then he said, but look, we understand what you guys go through. Why don't you work with us? We'll tell you what to have in this film, what not, and make those changes and, we'll pass it. I said, no. What is the next step? So they said, I have to go to the revising committee. So the film went to revising committee. So now what happens with the revising committee is little higher status, high-class members of community, I guess, come to watch the film. So my hopes were a little bit up. So it was after a month, there were some liberal-looking people, there were some people who were journalists, there were some part-time filmmakers there, and there was one very famous journalist. I actually had pretty much respect for her quite a bit until this event. She used to write about women's rights and everything. So I'm like, okay, this may work. So after the screening is over, at least they didn't do what the other people did. They didn't walk out of the film, so they had some manners of how an audience should watch the film. So they sat there and watched the film. So my favorite journalist, jury member, she was like, you're showing all the homosexuals as very horny people. I have a lot of homosexual friends. They're not that horny. So I'm like, well, at least you didn't say they're not homos in the country. So I was actually happy about that. The second one was like, okay, are you a Hindu or you're a Muslim? I just want to understand who you are for. So I'm like, I'm an atheist. She's like, there you go. I knew it. I knew it has something to do with that. This film has something to do with that. So then there was a third one who was kind of little bit, in love with the film. He's like, I understand. I understand your plight. I understand you filmmakers, what you're trying to do. This is a great film. This is an amazing film. Look, this should go out. But, we are educated people here. We can understand what this is. But the common man of India cannot understand this. Right? So we are here to figure out what can go out for the common man of India. So here is the thing. Take the nudity in your film, chop it in half. Take the boobs out, take pussies out of it, and then take away that azan, which is a Muslim prayer. And actually what you do, take away all the religious symbols out of it. And just one more thing, just cut the climax and we are good to go. So that was their suggestion. So I'm like, wow. I was, trying to save every violent bone in my body. That like, should I just, it was very patient moment for me. I controlled myself. So I said, okay, no. So what's the next step here now? So the next step was to go to a tribunal. Appeal to a tribunal, which is pretty much a government body. I mean, these are government bodies too, but a tribunal is like directly appointed by the new government, which is at that point of time, my luck was great. It was a right-wing fundamentalist government has come to power. So I obviously knew the answer, what's going to happen next. They knew it. So when I said, no, I'm not willing to work with it, they pretty much started sort of laughing. However, I went to FCAT, and I didn't go to FCAT actually, I had lost my patience. So I sent my lawyer to FCAT. We received a letter that if this film goes out, Hindus and Muslims will kill each other, and pretty much looks like all the straight people will turn into homosexuals. I mean, just little exaggeration, but that was they were trying to say, that it will ignite communal passions, carnal passions, baser passions, whatever kind of passions exist. So pretty much, very standard shotgun approach of what films can do in society, right? I mean, you watch a rape, you're going to go out commit a rape. That's how it is understood. I mean, but anywhere censorship exists, that's how it has been understood. That's what media does. Many people, after this event, said like, there were these new government coming in, new people coming in power, and hence that may be a result of this and all that. And I should go after and sort of write publicly more about those people. But I asked myself the question: what is censorship about? Is it about those individuals? If you ask like, what can change in a censor board to change these kind of things? I mean, nothing can change. You have to take censor board, throw it in garbage, pee on it, and say this institution should just not exist. I mean, if the purpose of institution is to censor, no matter who are there, I mean, they're gonna execute that right in one way or another. So, to me, one thing became very, very clear that censorship is not just about censoring a content. For for keeping certain social aspects in a certain way, which it obviously is. But the big role that censorship plays is self-censorship. The censorship is, to me, about self-censorship, because you do that. So by censoring Unfreedom, they're just not censoring Unfreedom. You do that, you are censoring every other artist or filmmaker who wants to cross the line has to think 500 times, right? He cannot even convince investors to get money because one guy already screwed you over. So my investors are already after my life. But so that kind of pressure, then what it does is that already filmmakers start to understand, okay, this is the line. I mean, we're not going to cross it. We're going to stay on this side of the fence. We're going to create our content on this side of the fence, and that's what it's going to be. So I'm just going to pretty much end my chat by saying that I think as filmmakers we also cannot take like shotgun approach like them. We also have to understand that like many filmmakers and like many people think that I've made a film about a rape, or I made a film about homosexuality, or made a film about any other sort of Islamic terrorism or identity issues or whatnot, that suddenly this is going to change the world. A film is a film. It's a very small piece in a very big conversation. So we have to be self-aware of how small our work is, yet how important our work is, because still the art activism is just very important. And I use that term art activism in two parts. One is it is very important to create art. It's just an art space is like this space, right? It's like what Don is trying to do and what this festival is becoming. It's just important to create art spaces, so we don't become just labor. We just don't become machine. We just keep opening our eyes to what we don't open our eyes to in everyday life. So that's one. And second thing, I think in my mind, art starts from a transgressive space. It's just my take on it. It's just like where that line is, where you tell that you just cannot cross that line. That's the line you stand on, and that's where you say, this is where my work starts from. So I think I tried for that. I don't know what I'm making. I mean, I know what I'm making next, but it's not. I mean, it's again in the same space. So I'm being asked that question again. I'm asking myself that question again. Why I'm doing it again? But some people are crazy. So I guess I'll end my chat there, and I'll open for any Q&A, any questions anybody has.
You said the last person they asked you to cut out the climax. Did any of the climax of the movie, or a sexual climax?
Climax of the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and they ask, and on the second, and they're asking what is the message.
Yeah.
That's where the message starts. But anyways, I mean, even that's not the message. But anyways, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that these officials were waiting for you to come up with maybe some extra money to grease the hands to let this thing go through, or did you get that impression at all?
No, corruption is there. Corruption is everywhere. I mean, so that's not the point, I mean, but to say that because of that they would have, no. I mean, that's not the case. I mean, they would still censor, right?
Okay.
They will still censor. I mean, you can have that conversation. Okay, can I cut like 3 minutes of it or 2 minutes of it? But that conversation is there because they have to do their job. They have to open a file and show to the authorities that look how much we worked on it. So that's also some advice was given to me by many filmmakers. Next time, make 6 hours of a content. 3 hours you can give it to them. 3 hours is your film. So I'm like, well, that's not a bad advice. Yeah.
Is there a group of individual or independent filmmakers in India that are trying to, change the censorship panel, or
No,
and how is that working?
there has been, I mean, when we say this group, 1950s this law was passed, right? We are in 2016. This group always existed. So there was always indie filmmakers who were making a noise about it, right? What it resulted in, we're still there. Nothing has changed. But yes, there are vocal filmmakers out in India, who speaks against it. There are meetings happen every 2 years with the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, and promises are made and whatnot. And there are recent news also. But you go look at the history. Every year there will be news that things will change and something will change. So the big question is right now that, okay, can we just somehow make it a certifying body? And that big question has stayed for about 25 years now. 1975, there was a very famous Vijay Anand. I don't know if you know Indian films. Guide was a very popular film, and he was filmmaker of Guide. He became chief of censor board, and he has proposed that let's just make it a certifying body, which is okay, right? I mean, you can even say it's a bad film. Make a category, or whatever your opinion is. Even give that. Forget any other certification, right? Just say this is a horrible film. Just don't go there, right? But at least let it be out there. Let people decide.
So I would, and I don't quite know how things work in India, but I would assume that here, if someone says you can't do something, it becomes that much more desirable. Most of us are that much more, we just kind of want to do our thing. We're very independent. So I don't know whether or not the folks over there know that it's banned. And with computers and social media, I'm assuming that it would be that much more desirable over there to the citizens now that it has been banned.
Well, it sure is, yeah. I mean, there was a recent article I read. It's one of the top 10 banned films ever in India. I'm like, okay, that's the elite club I want to be in. So, no, it is definitely desirable. But again, how do you... The thing is, there's a lot of money goes into making a film. How are you going to recoup that, How I'm going to go to a next investor and say, what, I am taking this risk. Come stand behind me, right? So they were like, well, what did you do with the last one? So so those questions there. But yeah, of course, the film is more desired. It's I don't have a count how much pirated downloads have already happened on YouTube stuff. That's there. People know me there, right? So those are the benefits. But I know, and we also, like, this question was asked to me, like, I started promoting, we put like this sticker, banned in India, as like a commercial strategy. And so students many times ask me, like, FTI students were asking me, oh, you are sort of kind of, utilizing that. I'm like, yes, I am, right? I got to, but anyways, yeah.
Have you had any experience with the MPAA here in the United States? I don't know, could you speak a little bit what you feel about the system here?
It didn't matter. So my distributor was Mark Ehrman. He was Lionsgate chief before a film was released, and the trailer was a red band. But we didn't even need to. You don't need to get a rating if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, so we didn't get a rating. We just released it. But film had its own issues in here. So hopefully we'll see in the evening how many will like it, how many will walk out of it. I have quite a few very interesting screenings where audience was kind of fighting with each other. I had screenings, audience was just fighting with me. I had screenings, people were just loved it. So I don't know what happens in a space with that film. I get crazy sometimes. In India, it's only been one kind of response, actually. Here it's been very different kind of response. In India, youth just loves it. Old people just hate it. That has been the case. Yeah.
So you said you were given a list, right? To what you can't put in your movie. So, if you got that list while you were making it, how much would you have changed, if anything, really?
Oh, that list is a public phenomenon. Everybody has it. It's a censor board guidelines list.
Oh,
So everybody has it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I had the list.
That was exactly.
I had the list while I was writing it. That's why these guys were asking me, why the hell are you doing it? So, but you still have a hope, right? Because okay, you can take the same list and you can look at all the films that are released every day. You're telling me that violence for entertainment shouldn't be there? Every film has violence for entertainment in Bollywood. What are you talking about? So, that list kind of doesn't mean anything. It's you pick and choose to use for whatever you want to use.
upset them the most?
Okay. I don't know why when you were asking me the question, I was thinking of something else. I was like, I wanted to tell the audience, listen, it still is an entertaining film. Right? I mean, it's a thriller. I'm hoping you will be, you will just, your eyes will be glued and you will enjoy the film. Anyways, coming back.
I mean, had you made, you were talking about, you could have possibly made it as 2 films.
Right. No, so I got your question. The Islamic terrorism.
If you just made the film about the homosexual content, would it possibly have got through? I think it's very unlikely the Islamic extremist one would have got through because I think there's censorship in every country about that at the moment.
Right.
Because everyone's terrified about
Right.
it.
Right. No, I think having both the stories together screwed it up more. Right. But again, that is the point of the film. And I hope when you watch the film, you will understand the film is something beyond this story or that story. At least my vision is something beyond Islamic terrorism story or the homosexual story. But I don't think it was either or for them. I think the problem is, you can show as much sex as you want, you can show as much violence as you want, but you take that sex and violence and you mix it with religion and politics. No. That's not going to happen. So that was the problem. If it was, just a love story with more sex in it, or just a revenge story with more violence in it, I don't think that would have been a problem, But you take political statement, you make religious statement with it. It's just, that wasn't going to.
So I think we have enough time.
Charles. Yeah.
How do you feel about your film being here in Butte, Montana at the Covalent Film Festival in the spring here at this first annual film festival?
He belongs to festival, no? He had like a pitch in. Now I am Charles, very, very pleased to be here, and I'm very pleased. What Don is doing, what you guys are putting together here as a group. I think this is just like I said to me, okay, wait a second. How do I see the world? I mean, and art in terms of space, performance, and experience. I mean, that's kind of my theory, which I may not have developed completely, but it's like we live in spaces, we perform in those spaces, we gain certain experiences, and it's a very symbiotic relationship between them. And as we create spaces and as we open the boundaries of those spaces, we start performing differently, we start experiencing differently, and things start, I think, change. That's how it happens, right? So creating a new space like this, a new art space, bringing new people here, I think this will change the space of Butte itself. So I think that's just a great thing, and I'm just glad to be here. I'm very happy to be here. All right.
So